Lesson number 86 is about division of polynomials, and our first question asks us to divide 3x to the third plus 7x squared minus x by x. So when we divide polynomials, there's two different methods that we use. The first method is we're only dividing by one term. So x is by itself. We're just dividing by that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each term and we're going to divide it by x. So let's get 3x to the third power and divide it by x. Then we're going to take plus 7x squared and divide it by x. And then we're going to subtract x and divide it by x. So each piece here has been divided by x. And now all we have to do is simplify. 3x to the third divided by x, well, that must be 3x squared. Then plus 7x squared divided by x, well, x squared minus 1x, or x to the first power, that would just leave 1x. So we're going to have 7x. And then x divided by x, anything divided by itself is 1, so we get our final answer. 3x squared plus 7x minus 1. Let's look at another one. We're dividing by one term. Here we want to divide 12x to the 12th minus 8x to the 8th plus 4x to the 6th by 4x to the 4th. So we only have one term here, so we're going to divide each of our terms in our original trinomial by 4x to the 4th. So let's go ahead and do that. 12x to the 12th, and we're going to divide it by 4x to the 4th. We're going to subtract 8x to the 8th, and then we're going to divide it by 4x to the 4th power. Then we're going to take the plus 4x to the 6th power, and we're going to divide it by 4x to the 4th. Now we just do this the same way we did the last one, but instead of just having variables to divide, we also have numbers to divide. So 12 divided by 4, that's 3. And then x to the 12th divided by x to the 4th, that must leave us with x to the 8th power, because 12 minus 4 is 8. Then we're going to subtract. 8 divided by 4, that's 2. And x to the 8th divided by x to the 4th, that must leave us with x to the 4th power, because 8 minus 4 is 4. Then we're going to add. 4 divided by 4 is 1. We could write that if we want to, but we don't have to. Plus x to the 6 minus 4, that's 2. So we get x to the 2nd power. And now we've got our final answer. Let's look at two more problems where we work with two terms that we're dividing by. So here we go. We want to take this negative 2x squared plus 3x to the third plus 5x plus 50, and we want to divide it by negative 3 plus x. So when we have two or more terms that we're dividing by, we've got to use polynomial long division. And in order to use polynomial long division, we're going to write everything out in descending order based on the variable as our dividend. So we get 3x to the third minus 2x squared. We're just writing in descending order based on the variable, plus 5x plus 50. And then we're going to divide it by everything that we see here. And we need to write the x out in front. So we're going to say x minus 3 instead of negative 3 plus x. Now what we have to do is figure out how many times do we have to multiply this x to cancel out the 3x to the third power, or to equal 3x to the third. And what we would do is we would say x minus 3 times 3x squared in order to get rid of the 3x to the third power, because x times x squared is x to the third. Now there's one note here. Notice how the 2 is lined up on top of the 3. We don't want that. We want all the powers to line up on top of each other. So let's undo what we've done. And we're going to write our 3x squared on top of the x squared. Now let's see what we get. X times 3x squared is going to give us 3x to the third power. Now remember, in long division we always subtract. So 3x to the third minus 3x to the third is going to cancel out. It's going to be equal to 0. Then we need to figure out what comes next. So then we have negative 3 times 3x squared. That's going to give us negative 3 times negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And negative 3 times x squared is x squared. So now we're going to go ahead and subtract. Okay? When we go ahead and subtract, we're going to say 3x to the third minus 3x to the third. That's 0x to the third. And then we have negative 2x squared minus negative 9x squared. Well, double negative makes a positive, so that's going to leave us with 7x to the second power. Because this is really like saying negative 2x squared plus 9x squared. And that would have to be 7x squared. Okay, now we're on to our next step. We're going to say x times what is going to help us get to 7x squared. And let's use a different color here. We'd have to multiply x times 7x in order to get to 7x squared. So we're going to multiply plus 7x, because x times 7x gives us 7x squared. And when we subtract, that'll be equal to 0. Now we have negative 3 times 7x, that's negative 21. So negative 21 and negative 3 times 7x is negative 21x. When we're doing this long division, we've got to drop everything down just like we used to before. So we're going to have plus 5x. Now let's go ahead and subtract. 7x squared minus 7x squared, that's 0x squared. Then we have 5x minus negative 21x. 5 plus 21, that's going to give us 26 x's. We're going to drop down our 50. Now we have to figure out x times what is going to give us 26x. And x times 26 is 26x. So let's put that up here. So plus 26, because x times 26 is 26x. And then negative 3 times 26, well, if we multiply negative 3 times 26, it's like saying 26 times 3. You're going to get an 18, carry the 1, 6 times 2 is, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So we get 78. So we'll get, and this one is going to be subtracting, because negative 3 times positive 26 is going to give us negative 78. Then we subtract everything, and we're going to find our final answer. 26x minus 26x is 0x. And 50 plus 78, because of that double negative, is going to give us 128. So we've got a remainder. And the way we report our remainder is like this. Let's erase our multiplication. We're going to write a mixed number, essentially, with a polynomial. So we're going to say plus, and then we have our 128 over our divisor of x minus 3. And we've got our final answer. Our final answer for this problem is 3x squared plus 7x plus 26 plus 128 over x minus 3. Let's look at one more. Let's divide this one. Negative 4 plus x to the third by negative 3 plus x. So we need to write everything in descending order based on the variable. So we're going to get x to the third power plus, and this is where this problem's a little tricky. We have 0x squareds, so we've got to write 0x squared. We've got 0x's, so we need to write plus 0x. And then we have minus 4. And we're going to divide this all by x minus 3. So let's figure out what we get. X times x squared is x to the third. So we've got x squared. X times x squared is x to the third. And then negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. And then we subtract. X to the third minus x to the third is 0. And 0 minus negative 3x squared, well, that's going to give us positive 3x squareds. Then we bring down our plus 0x. X times what is 3x squared? Well, we must have to multiply that by 3x. Because x times 3x gives us 3x squared. Then negative 3 times 3x is going to give us negative 9x. and then we can subtract. We have 0x squareds, and we have 9x's. We bring down our negative 4. Then our last step here, x times 9 is going to give us 9x, so plus 9. X times 9 is 9x, very good, that'll equal 0 when we subtract. And negative 3 times 9, that's going to be negative 27. And now we can find our final answer by subtracting. We've got 0x's and negative 4 plus 27. Negative 4 plus 27, that's going to equal 23. So we've got our final answer. We'll write our remainder out. So plus 23, that is what's left over out of x minus 3. We'll go ahead and box this, and then we could move on to our next question. If you've got a question, please go ahead and watch this process one more time after you've got your notes complete so you can just see it go straight through. We'll practice some more of these problems together in class next time we see each other. Lesson practice will be on page 360. Again, make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.